If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and share, it helps the channel out. Now, here's my Xbox Series X review. So it's been weeks now, and I want to put a lot of time into this review because I feel like you can't rush a review, especially for hardware. So I thought I'd take my time with it and see what the console's like after weeks. And to be honest, there isn't a lot of bad to say about the console, so I'm going to get the bad out of the way first, and that being the game DVR. Now, while it is fixed at the recording of this video, DVR video recording was just, it was too dark to use. Like, one of the reasons why you may have seen less Xbox Series S and X clips on Twitter is because it was too dark to use. Now, that's not an issue. It is crystal clear and easy to see, and frankly, games on this machine look gorgeous. Now, another thing I want to say about this review is I'm going to review the hardware as hardware. I'm not going to review the console for what's not there. So while I could say that, no, Halo Infinite isn't here, that's not reviewing a console, because we've known that for a while. So this console, the Xbox Series X, is Microsoft's most advanced console to date, and frankly I'm impressed. With these new consoles, I like to push them through the paces and see what they can do, and for things like this I usually keep the console on for a long time. And one of the things I've noticed is that if I'm playing something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a big open world game, the console is whisper quiet. You can't hear the thing. And the funny thing is that if you have an external hard drive plugged in, the hard drive is louder than the console itself. You can't even hear the disc spin. So frankly, the engineering teams at Microsoft for Xbox, they've done a stellar job here. Now when it comes to games running at 60 frames, I've had no issues. So be it Assassin's Creed Valhalla before the patch, I was fine, locked 60. When it comes to things like Gears Tactics, this game is absolutely gorgeous. This is a tactical game that looks as good as Gears 5, and it runs locked 60. And frankly, I've had a good time with this. And if you want a new Gears game with this new hardware, I recommend people to play this, because again, it's just a fun time. It removes a lot of the issues with this genre, and it just looks stunning. But again, back to the hardware. This game on this console, it's just impressive. Like, we went into these new consoles knowing the specs, knowing what they could do on paper, but the performance out of the gate is strong. And again, when it comes to things like Assassin's Creed before the patch, I had no issue. Now, for people that were having issues, they have locked 60 now without any screen tearing, which is good to hear. But when it comes to this Xbox Series X, you can tell that Microsoft put a lot more effort than ever before into cooling, because one of the things that people mentioned before launch was how warm the console gets. But even after running its paces, and even after having this console play games, even last gen games that are very taxing like Red Dead Redemption and the new games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the console's just barely warm. So from that, hey, it's impressive. Things like Forza Horizon 4, locked 4K 60, and again, gorgeous game, but a smooth 60. And you know, when you go from this game on Xbox One and Xbox One X to Xbox Series X, you know, you had to pick, was it 4K or 60? Now you have both at the same time. And frankly, when we get these new consoles now are basically like PCs. We get to take games with us, and we get better versions of games. These games have been optimized very well for the Xbox Series X. And again, you know, there's a lot of new games taking advantage of these new hardware specs. But I keep going back to Assassin's Creed, because we've had 4K open world games before. And Assassin's Creed, to me, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, has to be one of the best examples of an open world game on a new console. We had an Assassin's Creed launch with the Xbox One, and it was slightly sharper than the 360 version, but going from the Xbox One X to this, there's a big jump in visual fidelity. And I noticed that. And frankly, the game looks amazing on Xbox One X as well. It's just, there's another level of detail there. And frankly, the performance is just solid. Especially now after the patch. Even when there's lots of characters on screen during huge siege battles, the console doesn't let up. The game just runs smooth. And again, when it comes to these types of games on these new consoles, like, early software isn't always 100% solid, but with this, I've had no issues. When it comes to the whole silence of the console and how quiet it is, no matter what game I play, it's quiet. Be it a backwards compatible game, it's quiet. New game, quiet. And it's just refreshing, because sometimes you'd put a game in and it would just, you know, it would slow up sometimes. It would get too loud, and this console is just super silent. I'm actually surprised at how quiet this machine is. So far, games perform well, and games look fantastic. But there's other aspects to this console as well, is that the software. So, going from game to game on this new console is different, because there's this new option and feature called Quick Resume. Quick Resume essentially lets you jump into the past few games you've played without any long load screens. Load times on this console, by the way, are ridiculously fast. Ridiculously fast. You jump into games that used to take a minute and a half to load, sometimes take 10 or 11 seconds now. Things like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you load into the game full within 30 seconds. It's just so impressive. But with Quick Resume, a select number of titles you've played recently is stored in the virtual RAM, so you can just jump back into it. And the thing is, it's so impressive that it shocked me, who knew about this already, because I've gone back to games that came out launch week, and games just Quick Resume without any issue. And I want to talk about the controller quickly. The controller is fantastic. It feels more premium. It's essentially the same, but with an extra button on. But hey, people asked for a share button, they got it, and overall, the quality of the materials feeling matte now, it just feels better. And frankly, the matte finish makes it feel more premium. But back to the whole Quick Resume thing. Now, I've seen people say, who would use this? Why would people use this? The truth is that with these SSDs, and I've been saying this for a while now, it's all about less time loading, more time playing. So if you want to play a game for 10 minutes, a minute of that isn't going to be spent loading. But with Quick Resume, if it's a game you've played recently that supports Quick Resume, and not all games do, but more will in the future, but you'll experience load times that are around 3 to 5 seconds long, if that. And frankly, that's just impressive. Like, again, this should be impossible. And from going from a console with a hard drive to this new console with an SSD, it's a different league. It's just a completely different ballpark with this technology. Backwards compatibility. Now, some games go up to 60 frames, some games, and a lot of games, have HDR now. Automatic HDR. Microsoft has been at the A game, the top of the top, the best of the best when it comes to backwards compatibility, and it doesn't let up here. Things like Jedi Fallen Order loads in seconds, and when you have it in performance mode, it's literally locked 60, and frankly, it just feels a lot better that way. But when it also comes to other backwards compatible games, is the automatic HDR. Now, Microsoft uses a machine learning technique with heat maps, and they generate HDR in games. And frankly, with things like Dead Space 2, the best example, and things like Enslaved Odyssey to the West, HDR looks fantastic. Like, really fantastic. And it's quite surprising to see how good games look with HDR now. Things like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 all pop with the bright oranges and blues now. And Microsoft's done the best job when it comes to HDR on console. They brought HDR gaming to the forefront in 2016, and now we are here with backwards compatible games getting automatic HDR. It's just impressive. All in all, Microsoft has made a fantastic new console. I'm impressed. They've gone beyond what I expected. The hardware, the software, games perform well. Outside of the game DVR thing, that's fixed now. This console has been absolutely fantastic, and I would recommend this console to anyone looking to purchase a high-end 4K console. And if you want an Xbox Series S, it does the same, just lower resolutions and, you know, no disk drive. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please hit like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, share it on Twitter and wherever you may go. And yeah, I'm out. I have more videos coming soon. Peace.